Hyperkin's Duke wired controller is here. It is made to be an homage to the original Duke controller, which was bundled with the original Xbox. It does feature new tricks up its sleeve to basically be playable on Xbox One and Windows 10. We'll take a look at the pros and cons of this new controller by Hyperkin. Starting off, the button feedback and the plastic chosen for the buttons at hand looks like an accurate reproduction of what it was. Pushing the button feels like you were using an original Xbox. Another cool feature is the texture and the reproductions of the control sticks. They do feel brand new, they don't feel cheap, and the dead zone and the accuracy of the sticks feels totally what you'd expect from a modern controller. The D-pad is a hit and miss. The glossy plastic that they used for this specific D-pad is pretty cool, it does look good. The curve that it has inside does put your finger in the middle, so you do get some kind of precision with the D-pad. By no means I would recommend it for a platformer, though I have tried a few games like Super Meat Boy and Cuphead on PC, and I was able to manage with problem. The triggers themselves, they do feel cheap. They feel like Dollarama quality. It is disappointing that Hyperkin didn't put more emphasis on giving you the feel of an actual trigger, but the fact that it does mimic how the Duke controller was made before is appreciated. A highlight with the controller is the screen that is in the middle of the controller, which every time you press the middle button or every time you turn on the controller, the Xbox logo will start playing like the original Xbox. At first, this is cool. However, every time you push on the middle button to return to the home screen, or let's say you need to summon your settings, or you need to check achievements, or you need to boot up Big Picture on your PC, unfortunately that logo will replay always. Now, this is not like a big problem, considering that most of the time you're watching the TV and not your controller when you're playing the game. It does feel like it could have been better conceptualized. I would have actually preferred that the logo animates when you activate the controller once. Like this, it does feel like, oh shit, this is opening. Unlike that, oh, this is just a video replaying. For those who remember, the original Xbox didn't have RB and LB, the shoulder buttons. It had white and black, which were buttons placed around the A, B, X, Y. These are back. However, the way that Hyperkin did it is that they added an RB and LB on the top of the controller. Feel cheap, but at the same time I can understand why they put them there, so that players that actually prefer the RB and LB layout can still play like that. So the choice of variety is interesting, but again, I think they should have went back to the drawing board in designing the way RB and LB should be integrated. White and black basically is RB and LB to any Xbox game or any PC game that you will play, as long as on PC the game detects a Xbox controller or the game is in Steam Big Picture and your controller is synchronized with Steam. In game, white and black are pretty much gonna be RB and LB. So if you want to ignore RB and LB and just use white and black, that would definitely be the way to go if you want to experience the way that people played with the original Xbox controller at the time. I have personally never owned a Duke controller. I owned the second version of the Xbox controller, which was a smaller controller basically. So I never experienced the intensity of the size of the original Duke controller. However, I did put a side-by-side comparison of all my Xbox controllers that I own so that you can actually compare the size of Hyperkin's controller. On top of that, I would like to mention that the controller is huge, I mean big. It is bigger than an SNES Mini that I'm showcasing right now. The grip itself is a hit and miss. Holding it does feel good, but it's so big that after a period of an hour or 2 hours of gameplay, your hands start to hurt. If your hands are not big enough to hold this controller, you're basically gonna have problems after an hour or two. Your hands are gonna hurt, and you might not enjoy your experience after that. Unfortunately, the controller is not wireless, it needs to be wired. Thankfully, Hyperkin has bundled with the controller a 9 feet micro USB. The wire itself is good, and I always prefer wired controllers over wireless controller. Upon embarking on a nostalgia mission, Hyperkin decided to reproduce a classic controller that a lot of gamers grew up with. Whether you should buy this controller or not is definitely up to you. The quality of the reproduction of the controller seems accurate, the animated logo is great, and the feel of the buttons, of the sticks, and the way that it interacts with Microsoft's console is flawless without any problems. However, if it wasn't of the fact that RB and LB are cheaply integrated within the controller, the triggers themselves are cheap, is definitely disappointing, but it is not something that you should hold back on. If you are looking at this controller and you feel that you should own this, go for it. I definitely encourage the purchase. As of now, for my personal preferences and my personal opinion, I'm giving Hyperkin's Duke controller a 7 out of 10.